fact that Bill Burr is catching so much attention is not just due to his profile or the perceived hypocrisy given his previous statements, although these are certainly factors, but because he is acting like a fucking kid who's just been called out for putting bubblegum in little Susie's hair.
The sanctimonious is sanctimonian. Key word on the monian.
The sanctimony. This was a recurring theme in both his podcast and the Conan interview. Critics are hypocritical. They're bots. They're sanctimonious. They're stirring up outrage for the sake of clicks. The majority of criticisms I've seen online do not feel like sanctimony. What I'm seeing feels more like disappointment and disillusionment. It's a sense of betrayal because, for the record, sanctimony is not someone saying that something is wrong. Sanctimony is affected, performative, even hypocritical, an excessive piety geared towards claiming moral superiority. Bill, if anyone, is the one being sanctimonious here, kind of. I'm calling it inverted sanctimony. Inverted sanctimony, as I'm labeling it, is the deliberate and disingenuous act of accusing one's critics of moral posturing in order to deflect their criticisms. Through this, they invert the moral hierarchy. The critic, who raises an ethical or principled concern, is reframed as arrogant and self-righteous, while the accused, poor old Bill, becomes the voice of reason, humility, and balance. Don't fall for this. This is a form of gaslighting, a nasty kind. Bill is flinging shit at the wall at this point, hoping something will stick. Listen to what he had to say on his podcast a few days ago.
And I'm going to, I don't know, man. I'm fucking nervous about this one. This is like, we're in the shit here. Like, they have never had a comedy festival, and, I don't know what's going to happen here. And, like, my whole fucking idea of Saudi Arabia is what I've seen, like, on the news. I literally think I'm going to fucking land, and everybody's going to be screaming, "Death to America!" And they're going to have, like, fucking machetes and want to, like, chop my head off, right? Because this is what I've been fed about that part of the world, right?
That's what Bill thought. That is what he thought Saudi Arabia would be like. Later, on Conan, he criticized other people for holding that very same preconception.
And, if you sit on your couch and let some talking head, then you just think it's machine guns and people saying all of that stuff, and it's like, I don't know.
So which is it, Bill? Who's the idiot? Did you think that Saudi Arabia was full of machete maniacs? Or do they think it? I'll tell you now, Bill, literally nobody thinks that. I've never been within missile firing range of Saudi Arabia, but my image of Saudi Arabia is this. I suspect I'm not alone. This is the image of Saudi Arabia we've been fed. What the hell kind of Twitter accounts was Bill following if he thought Saudis were running around the airport with machetes screaming death to America? Then we get this shit.
And I will tell you, the Cheesecake Factory in Riyadh, man, it's incredible. It's right next to the Pizza Hut and the KFC. And if you want a pair of Timberlands, it's across the street next to the Marriott, catty corner to the fucking Hilton.
The Cheesecake Factory. They've got a cheesecake factory. You should see it. Of what possible relevance is this? Guys, I went to North Korea. Don't believe the mainstream media lies about forced labour camps and executions. They've got a Dairy Queen. It was fantastic, he tells us. An amazing experience. I don't know why he thought this would help. I've got a feeling that he probably said something similar in his Riyadh performance. Shit like that usually plays well to a home crowd. The dumb American tourist having all his stereotypes and preconceptions blown out of the water. Fuck, man, you've got a cheesecake factory. And your malls. Holy crap, fucking Timberlands, man. It's cheap laughs. The problem is, and Bill should be aware of this as a professional comedian, is that what plays well to one audience doesn't necessarily work with another. Listen to the chuckle in his voice when he's saying this. He's expecting everybody to start slapping their knees like they did in Riyadh, and the reason they aren't is because it isn't funny. Take the home crowd away, and it doesn't work.
Is that a Starbucks? Next to a Pete's Coffee? Next to a Burger King? Next to a McDonald's? Next to a Pizza Hut? Next to a Dunkin' Donuts? Next to a Krispy Kreme? Next to a Cheesecake Factory? Next to a KFC? Next to a Chili's? They got a fucking Chili's over here?
Next, we have the disassembling. I'm happy to answer questions, Bill says. Go on then. Honestly, I'd love to answer your questions. Go on then.
The problem I have is after I answer them, it all gets clipped. And then once it gets clipped, then the lies start getting told, or they start shaping it and making it this and making it that.
Bill, you're ranting on a podcast. You're saying literal words. You're already giving these word twisters ammunition.
The level of, like, straight up lies. these stories of like there was no women there.
Minor point about the women. I never heard anyone say that. He can, of course, answer the question anytime he likes. He knows the question. How could he, a comedian who has always positioned themselves in opposition to the abuse of power, who actually criticised other entertainers for this very kind of thing, turn around one day, shrug his shoulders and just take the money? But Bill doesn't want to answer that question. Instead, we get more shit.
Hey, just for the record, I'm also doing London, England on that tour, which is arguably the bloodiest fucking money out there. So there's like that element of racism to it where if brown people are doing it, it's fucked up. If white people are doing it, what are you talking about,
False equivalence. When he played London, he wasn't doing so at the behest of the government, a government with some of the most regressive, repugnant laws in the world, one that facilitates what amounts to modern slavery, that executes gays, that has females enshrined in law as second-class citizens in order to whitewash said government's image. That's the problem. There are conditions in which he could have played Saudi Arabia with little or no criticism. Say he'd been touring the Middle East and got invited to play in a couple of local comedy clubs. No government involvement, no participation in a propaganda exercise. No one wouldn't have given a shit. Bill knows this, of course. He thinks you're too stupid to realise. London's the bloodiest place ever. Well, I can think of worse places to be if you're a woman. I can think of worse places to be if you're gay. I can think of worse places to find migratory work. Also, don't forget to deny all wrongdoing. What he did was progress. Progress doesn't happen overnight. It's the little things.
What it did for freedom of speech over there, because before it started, you couldn't talk about all of this stuff, and then they whittled it down to just that. And that is how, if you truly care about stuff like that, you gradually move towards something more positive.
This was not progress. The people of Saudi Arabia gained nothing from this debacle. Let's not pretend that the authorities backing down over some contractual quibbles amounted to anything more than minor concessions given to a handful of privileged foreigners who were only in the country for a few days. The regime probably shrugged this off as a small, necessary evil in securing the talent. But Cheesecake Bill wants to frame it as a government commitment to reform. Change has to start somewhere, right? Yes, it does. And it didn't start here.
I don't know. I feel like we're moving towards them in a lot of ways over here, Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, we're fucking grabbing moms and dads and sticking them in a van for making illegally made fucking tacos to go to alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, it's fucking insane. It's insane. And someday they're going to be out of brown people to put in those vans. They're still going to have the vans, so you shouldn't be feeling comfortable about it.
Ho ho, what's this? Sanctimony? Don't be sanctimonious, Bill. You don't get to play that game anymore. This is probably Bill's most disingenuous argument. This really is the ice on the cheesecake. Why? Because Bill's fan base is largely on the left. He's generally disliked by the right. And for the most part, the left is critical of the excesses of the ICE deportations he is alluding to here. There is no hypocrisy. These are people who have criticised their own country for perceived human rights abuses and criticised Saudi Arabia for theirs. There's only one hypocrite in this argument, and that's Bill. Of course, when acting like a child, don't forget the shallow attempt at reverse psychology.
But I do have to tell you, this is fascinating because I've never been in the middle of one of these fucking things. And my whole life when I watch the news, not every fucking news stories, but there's been a lot of shit where you watch it going like, yeah, I don't know, kind of seems like that kind of fucking dick. So to finally be in the middle of it.
He finds it fascinating, guys. He's enjoying it. Stop criticising him. It's what he wants. Why the hell is this guy trying so hard? Has he been turned? Do the Saudis have something on him? What the hell is this Hanoi Jane bullshit?